Can you tell these two cars apart? If you're driving a Volkswagen Touareg 2019, you'd have to forgive someone who got it confused with the Audi Q5. After all, it's pretty hard to spot the difference. How does this happen? Coincidence? Industrial espionage? Maybe a really lazy designer? The answer is actually a little simpler. Volkswagen and Audi are part of the Volkswagen Group. You know the saying, don't reinvent the wheel? Well, it's not just the wheel that car makers don't reinvent. It's often the engine, the motor train, the chassis, and thousands of other car parts too. They do this to make car manufacturing commercially profitable. It takes a lot of investment to create a car from scratch, so it's common for car makers to reuse platforms and parts, especially if they're two brands within the same company. But you know what other brands are in the Volkswagen Group? Well, apart from Volkswagen and Audi, the group also owns Bentley, Bugatti, Lamborghini, and Porsche, or should I say Porsche. So, if you're driving an Audi, does that mean you might have a whole lot of Bugatti under your hood? Well, Audi certainly does share parts with Lamborghini. In fact, back in 2008, there were a lot of complaints that Audi R8 was sharing a little too much with its Lamborghini Gallardo cousin. Eventually, the president of the company announced that they would start limiting shared parts to 20%. Presumably, the complaints were from the Lamborghini customers. After all, who would complain if they bought a Volkswagen and discovered a whole lot of Lamborghini under the hood? So, what does all this mean for you? Well, like we said, it might mean your car has a little Bugatti under its hood, which is great. It also means you probably don't know who made the car you're driving. But stick around, because we're about to reveal who owns who in the world of cars. The trend for car companies to buy other car companies or form alliances or partnerships is not new. Car companies have been sharing or copying technology since cars were first invented. Cadillac's first car, the 1903 Model Runabout, was virtually identical to the 1903 Ford Model AA. That was because Henry Ford had a fight with his original backers and left the company. But he left behind the almost ready for production car he was working on. Henry Leland convinced the investors to keep the company going. They changed the name of the company to Cadillac, and they manufactured the car. By this time, Henry Ford had started a new company, the Ford Motor Company. Both companies released their first car within months of each other. The Detroit car scene was certainly very cozy. Henry Ford's new backers were the Dodge brothers, who would go on to start their own car company. Henry Leland would leave Cadillac to start the Lincoln Car Company, which Ford would later buy in 1922. But the man who probably was leading this trend was Durant of General Motors. He had this idea of a large automobile company with lots of independent subsidiaries and component companies. He started General Motors with Buick, then Oldsmobile. He then quickly added Cadillac, Elmore, and Oakland, a predecessor of Pontiac. In 1908, GM were already using a single chassis for 3 different brands. Later, Chrysler would do the same for Plymouth, DeSoto, and Dodge cars. Toyota started their car company by copying the DeSoto in 1937. Kiichiro Toyota realized he would never catch up to the American car companies if he started from scratch. But once he got going, he set the company on the path of innovation. This would lead to Toyota becoming a world leader. So, right from the start, car companies were copying each other, buying each other, or becoming each other's buddies in order to compete. And nothing much has changed since then. So here's the big question. Is the car you're driving owned or not? If you're driving a Honda, no one owns you. Honda owns Honda and Acura, its luxury brand. They've also got their own aircraft company. Same goes for Ford. It's just Ford and Lincoln, which Ford bought from Henry Leland in 1922. Over the years, Ford owned or had major stakes in Volvo, Jaguar, Land Rover, Mazda, Mercury, and Aston Martin. But all these brands were either sold or shut down. So now it's just back to Ford and Lincoln. Of course, this doesn't absolutely guarantee your Ford is made by Ford. When is a Ford not a Ford? When it's a Fiat. Here's the Ford, here's the Fiat. Can you tell the difference? The reason they look so similar is that they're built on the same platform. They share about 80% of the same components, and both are built in the same Fiat factory in Tychy, Poland. Ford wasn't planning to manufacture too many of these cars, so they went into partnership with Fiat. Now, if you're driving a Dodge, things get even more complicated. It's unlikely your Dodge was manufactured before 1928. If it was, then it was made by Dodge. Pure and simple. After the Dodge brothers died, the company was bought by Chrysler. This purchase made Chrysler grow 5 times its size overnight. It became the 3rd biggest car company in Detroit, after General Motors and Ford. Then, between 1998 and 2007, Chrysler was bought by Daimler-Benz, a German company often referred to as Mercedes. Then, in 2014, Dodge, as part of Chrysler, was bought by Fiat, an Italian car maker, founded in 1899. So it's one of the oldest car companies in the world. The group became known as the Fiat Chrysler Group. Currently, they've got Fiat, Ram, Chrysler, Jeep, Alfa Romeo, and Maserati under the hood. Confused already? Wait, there's more. FCA are planning to merge with another big holding company, PSA. Once that goes ahead, the family will include Peugeot, Citroën, DS, Opel, and Vauxhall. Let's just say if you're Dodge or Jeep, you've got a very big family with lots of step siblings. Up until 2016, Fiat also owned 90% of Ferrari. How about Subaru? Owned or not? Well, let's first start with your real name. It's Fuji Heavy Industries. Secondly, you're not fully owned by anyone, but you're 20% part Toyota. That's why Subaru will stop producing mini cars for the Japanese market quite soon. They'd rather get them from Toyota's subsidiary, Daihatsu. Which brings us to Toyota. No one owns Toyota, but Toyota has their fingers in a few car makers. Toyota owns Daihatsu, 20% of Subaru, 5% of Mazda, 5% of Suzuki, and 2.8% of Yamaha. Toyota acquires about a 3% stake in Tesla as the automakers partner up to develop electric cars and develop production systems. They also have a shipping company, Toyo Fuji Shipping. We're not going to go into all the other bits and pieces like parts and steel companies they own, but it's worth mentioning they own 2.8% of Panasonic and then 34% of Nagoya Broadcasting Network. Let's back up a second. Did we say Toyota isn't owned? We need to correct that. Actually, Mazda has a 0.25% stake in Toyota, and Suzuki has a 0.2% stake. The two companies exchange small stakes as a sign of their partnership. Isn't that nice? Toyota recently also partnered with BMW to build the engine for the 2020 GR Supra race car. Supras traditionally had straight 6 engines, but Toyota didn't build engines like that anymore. So they partnered with BMW to make the production of the Supra commercially viable. Toyota also has an alliance with Tesla, who also has an alliance with other car companies over the years. Many car companies don't become family. They just become friends. The Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance began in 1999. It's a cross-sharing agreement. Then they extended the friendship group to add Daimler, Chinese Dongfeng, and Russians Avtovaz. If you're driving a Land Rover or Jaguar, you were owned by Ford until 2008. Now you're owned by Indian car maker Tata Motors. Tata Motors started out in the commercial car industry by forming a partnership with Daimler-Benz. They entered the passenger vehicle market in 1991. In India, Tata has a joint venture with Fiat, which gives them access to Fiat's diesel engine technology and transmission technology. We've mentioned the Daimler-Benz name a few times already. Carl Benz patented his invention in 1886. Benz merged with Daimler back in the early 1920s. Then they merged with Chrysler. Currently, the company owns Mercedes-Benz and smart microcars and subcompacts. If you're driving a Mini, then you're owned by BMW. BMW also owns another iconic British car maker, Rolls-Royce. BMW was already supplying Rolls-Royce with engines by the time it purchased the brand in 1998, after a strange bidding war with Volkswagen. Things change so much in the world of car makers, and who knows who will be buying or selling who next. But we'll be sure to keep you updated with what's happening in the world of car makers. If you like this episode, please support us by sharing the video.